Yes, hello. Today we are here with my fellow comedian, Joey Barraza. Ah, yes, thank you for having me on your show right now. I'm very pleased to be here. I've heard that being a comedian can be a lot of fun, but I'd just like to ask you a couple and a few questions about your job and what you're doing there. I have nothing to do for that. I have no problem against it. So just ask your questions and I'll answer right away. So, first, Joey, I'd just like to ask you, what is stand-up comedy? You see, stand-up comedy is a comic style in which a comedian performs in front of an audience, usually speaking directly to them. The performer is commonly known as a comic, which tells the jokes, makes his own jokes. It's crazy. It takes hours to do a whole show. There are famous people like Kevin Hart, he's a really big one. Wow, that's really interesting. I've seen some of Kevin Hart's shows. They're very vulgar, but they're pretty funny. So, there must be advantages and disadvantages. Us at home, we're wondering, what are the advantages to this job? No problem with that, Jim. So, one of the biggest advantages of stand-up comedy is that the audience, right in front of your eyes, applauds your jokes. So, that's really good because it's feedback that is immediate. So, either the audience likes your jokes or not, you'll know at the spot. So, that's a very big advantage. So, you can work on your articles. In the best case, you will be cheered and applauded, but in the worst case, you may face scornful comments. A risk of flying fruits and vegetables is always there. Well, you don't have to act in front of a camera also. So that's really good for people who are camera shy and who have a problem with that. You get to travel a lot, so that's something you look forward to. And the pay can be very good most of the times. Wow, well, that's pretty good. But with so many advantages, there must be some disadvantages, right? Obviously, there must be some. But, like I said earlier, there's always a chance of vegetables or fruits that can fly at your face while you're performing from very angry people. And you have to come up, you have to come up with continuous jokes and the pressure of producing fresh jokes every single time and to make your audience laugh is actually very hard for a comedian who not is shy but sometimes has stage fright, or when he's a new beginner and no one really laughs at his jokes, he can get very, very hurt from that, and it can downgrade his, just in general, his way to get people to like. Another disadvantage, is that, your salary is not always fixed, and you might go from thousands one day, and the other day you might go to like $50 because your material was not as funny as it was the other day. So it can be very hard on your pay. The working conditions also, you work alone most of the times, and sometimes it's very hard to get a gig. And also, you cannot really stay down, have a permanent house, because you're always on the move. You're always going to the next place where there's a gig or something else, like another comedy skit you can do. It's always in there for the money.
I'm sorry, that must be rough on you. But, so what is your working conditions? I don't exactly understand. Where do you work? Do you work a lot? It's kind of stuff all over now.
You work alone a lot of the times. You can't really have a permanent home, and your hours aren't always fixed. So you can work from like 2 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, or 3 in the afternoon to like 8 in the night. It's really dependent on whether you have a gig that night or that morning. Alright, so I'm curious. You know, is there any further education, or is that the maximum? Because us here at home, we want to know if we can get a degree for this or a certificate of some kind, and then an exact or formal certificate or degree for comedians. Although you can continue your education or non-credit classes related to comedy or improvisation, acting at some colleges. Some business classes can also teach students how to get gigs or also how to process through an audition, so it can be very useful. You know, us here, again, we're wondering, do you make a lot of money, or is that dependent on something? I'm wondering right now, just from personal taste. Well, the salary for stand-up comedian is never fixed as like the hours, and never the same for any gig. So let's say you get thousands that day and thousands the other day. It might not be the same for the next 2 weeks. The salary is also most dependent on your performance, because the best you can do this, the more likely you're going to get, and your fan base is going to grow a lot bigger. So the more fans you get, the more money you can make, because over time you're going to be doing shows in stadiums like Kevin Hart. Alright, well, wait, isn't it your turn to go perform your act right now? You mind if we tag along? Alright, you guys can come right now. I don't mind. Welcome to the comedy show of the century. So, when I was in elementary school, my teacher was like, "Hey kids, what does a chicken give you?" And then, obviously, I said, "Meat." And then the teacher was like, "Very good. Now what does a pig give you?" And then, obviously, I said, "Bacon." Then the teacher asked the most famous question of all. And I was like, "Great." And then she said, "And what about a fat cow?" And obviously, we all said, "Homework." Get it? Alright, moving on, since that one wasn't famous with the ladies. Let's just do this again. What happens to a frog's cart when it breaks down? Anyone? Alright, well, I'll tell you. It gets towed away. Ha ha ha. Alright, well, my show's about to end, so I'm going to leave you guys with a classic. Why is 6 afraid of 7? No one? Okay. Well, 7, 8, 9. And that's all the time we have today, so tune in next week for my next show.